And welcome back to another daily devotion. I am Pastor Roy here at Woodlawn Christian Church in Lake City, Iowa, and this devotion is for Tuesday, March 12th, 2024. We are in Mark's Gospel, and we made it to chapter 12 yesterday. We looked at verses 1 to 12 yesterday. Today we're going to tackle verses 13 to 17, which brings us to the story about the question about paying taxes. Now, this story is in all three synoptics in Passion Week and Jesus' final week of his life. Jesus is again in the temple, and he's been confronted by the authorities about why are you doing these things? How can you do these things? And then he told that parable against them, that the wicked tenant story that we talked about yesterday. So let's take a look at these verses. There's some surprising things here, and let's see what we can come up with from this, from verses 13 to 17, from chapter 12 in Mark. And they sent to him some of the Pharisees and some of the Herodians to entrap him in his talk. And they came and said to him, Teacher, we know that you are true and care for no man, for you do not regard the position of men, but truly teach the way of God. Is it lawful to pay taxes to Caesar or not? Should we pay them or should we not? But knowing their hypocrisy, he said to them, Why put me to the test? Bring me a coin and let me look at it. And they brought one, and he said to them, Whose likeness and inscription is this? They said to him, Caesar's. Jesus said to them, Render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's. And they were amazed at him. Okay, few things going on here. Let's tackle them in order. One of the first things, not out of order a little bit, but they are being quite, buttering Jesus up. It's like, we know you truly teach the way of God and all that. They're setting him up for the fall, if you will, thinking they're going to trick him, but Jesus isn't going to have none of it. So, also, we notice who are these guys that are coming to talk to Jesus? They're Pharisees and Herodians. Now, we don't know a lot about the Herodians, but we know they're followers of Herod, so they're secular oriented. They're not really particularly a religious group. They're more of a political group. The Pharisees are very stringent about the law, very religious folks. So these are a strange group to have cooperating, if you will, strange bedfellows. And of course, the Sadducees and the Pharisees don't get along either particularly well, and the Herodians probably don't get along with either one of them. And the Essenes didn't get along with anybody either, but nonetheless, so there's about 3 dozen different groups of sects of Judaism at the time of Jesus, but that's just an aside. So they come to him, and they're questioning him about paying taxes. And Jesus, of course, asks them to see a coin. Bring me a coin. Well, they're in the temple, remember. You're not supposed to have a graven image in the temple. And they bring him a denarius. It doesn't say that here in Mark's, but it does in the other Gospels. They bring him a denarius, which would have Caesar's head on it and would have Caesar's inscription. Of course, here he says, this is whose likeness is this and whose inscription? It's Caesar's. So it's a denarius or another Roman coin. At any rate, it's got Caesar's face on it. That's a graven image. You're not supposed to bring those in the temple. And if these are the Pharisees that hand him the coin, oh my Lord, what a deal. We'll assume it's one of them darn Herodians, those guys that just don't care about those laws. They care about the Romans. They're collaborators. And of course, the Pharisees, that's the other thing. The Pharisees aren't collaborators with the Romans. The Sadducees more so because they're the priests. The Herodians definitely are, because Herod very much, he has that position. He only has his position because he is appointed by Rome. Otherwise, he wouldn't be in charge of that area of the world. So it's strictly a political thing for him. And he wasn't fully Jewish either. That's another aside. But the point is, they bring him this coin. And Jesus is kind of like, okay, render unto Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and the things to God the things that are God's. Well, everything's God's, first of all. Remember that. God created everything. He created you and I and the Herodians and the Pharisees that were talking to Jesus at that time. All were created by God, by Jesus. Remember the preamble of John's Gospel. So we've got that going on. The other thing is what value does a gold coin have, truly? When you come down to what really has value in this world, and we forget these things, does paper money have value? Well, unfortunately, in the U.S., it's not even backed by gold anymore. It hadn't been for a long, long time. Back when I was a young man or a young child, was more of a child, it was backed by gold. They got rid of that. The gold standard went away a long time ago. Unfortunately, that's part of economic issues that we have, but that's an aside. So if paper money is worth nothing, what's gold worth? You can't eat gold. You can't use it to heat your house. You'd have to have more gold than you could ever accumulate to build a shelter of any kind. It's too soft to create a tool of any use or a weapon of any use. Gold is quite soft, and it just doesn't work well for making tools or implements with. You can create jewelry, but what practical value does jewelry have? It doesn't have a practical. It's not a survival thing to it. The things that you need to survive are shelter, clothing, food, things like that. A weapon for protection, if you will. None of those things does gold particularly fill the role for at all. The reason it has value is because we impart value on it. It's nice and shiny and it's pretty. We think gold is wonderful. We need it for our gold wedding bands and jewelry and such. But as far as a real value for our survival, not much at all. So the value we implant on those types of things is not real value. It's a human perceived value. The value of things that God is looking at are things that have genuine value, and that's human beings. That is God's creation. Those are the things that have value to us, things that we can use for us to survive in God's creation, I guess I should say. But it's really the human lives. So give to Caesar that coin. It's not. First of all, God created it in the creation of the cosmos. It was once part of a long distant dead star, for crying out loud. All gold and all heavy metals were created in the interior of a star. Just another aside. Long gone though. It has no value other than what we give to it. Again, that gold. What God cares about is humans. He cares about our souls, our eternal soul. Give that to God. That's what you want given to God, and that's what we're working to bring to God is other people's eternal souls. That's what God wants. That's what we give to Him. All right, that's what I've got for you. I'm going to let you go for today. Trying to keep this one a little shorter. Have a very blessed day, and please, please, please be a blessing to someone today. Bye-bye.